morning, and welcome to a new day. You got yourself the Aired Out Podcast. So happy to have you with me. I've had a cup of coffee. I'm feeling good. We got 19 days to Father's Day, 38 days to Independence Day. It is the 27th, and I don't know about you, but time is ticking. I am looking at the calendar. I'm thinking this weekend, Sunday, is going to be June 1st. The black flies are out. The mosquitoes are out. We have a absolutely gorgeous day ahead today. Sunshine and 78. Mid-50s for most of us waking up this morning here in central Vermont. But, yeah, beautiful day ahead today. Tonight, a few clouds, 48. Mainly sunny and near 80 tomorrow. So kind of a carbon copy of today. But Thursday, and maybe you've heard this already, we are right back to returning to the clouds and the rain showers and around 65 Thursday for the high, and that's going to stay with us to and possibly through the weekend. I know. Birthdays: Amy St. John today, Doug Gould, Albie Bourne, Miranda Johnson, Leslie Lang, Stu LaPearl, Brittany Tremblay, and Jackie Rivers. Team USA won the Men's Hockey World Championship for the first time since 1933. Big on the sports page this morning. Red Sox lost to the Brewers 3-2. They're going to be back at it tonight at 7:40. A 9:38 first pitch tonight for the Yankees and the Angels. Yanks took the Angels 5-1 last night. NASCAR Cup Series going to head to Nashville on Sunday for the Cracker Barrel 400. It's going to be a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in this morning. I have Mary Peterson, who is right next to me from Woodland Studios, my new, I would say, almost my newest presenting sponsor. And I am so happy to have you here this morning. It is an absolute pleasure. First of all, to get to know you, to meet you, but to also have you as a sponsor is really something that I am so excited about. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the chance with me.
And I gotta say, I'm so blessed that you reached out to me, and said, kind of in a nice way, I would like to help you. You need some help. My website was in desperate need of some sprucing up, and you recognize that, and I don't know how you discovered me, but somehow you did, and I think it's a real blessing that we've met, and that you took the wheel, and that you understood the kind of the vision that I had. This business of what we do is so heavy on relationships. It's understanding your client, understanding what their vision is and what they're hoping to achieve. Is it not?
It is. And, you know, especially when you talk about relationships, what really kind of made me gravitate towards you is knowing the podcast, knowing the relationships you have in the community, knowing many people that you've interviewed before and have had nothing but great experiences. So I'm like, okay, this is a person who's a pillar in this central Vermont community. How can we work together in a relationship where I can help you out, but then you can hopefully help me out also with the business and kind of get a good thing going?
There's part of me that almost wishes that more of us were doing that. You know, we need to do that. And I know that we both are involved with the Central Vermont Chamber of Commerce, and they do a pretty darn good job of doing that, of just connecting like-minded businesses and saying, this isn't about just us helping you. This is about you cross-promoting other businesses that are in your realm and out of your realm.
Well, and I think the key for that also is if you grow, I grow.
Yeah,
if
right.
I grow, you grow. And it's just like this relationship where it just we help build the Central Vermont business community to do better and better and better.
Yeah, right. Small business is I think many Vermonters would agree is really the lifeblood of our state, of our communities, of our small towns. We need them more than ever. And I have heard so many times over the years that Vermont needs to do a little bit better of a job promoting small businesses. But in the end, it's not the state's responsibility. It's our responsibility to do not only the best that we can with the tools that we have, but also to help other small businesses. If you're going to be doing something promotionally or whatever, build that upon another small business that's in your neighborhood or in your or in your anywhere in your region.
Yeah, and I think especially, when you're looking, let's use my industry, web design. You can go with, these big businesses where, you pay $50 and they build you some AI generated website and you don't know where that money is going to.
Right.
If you work with a small business, you're paying me. Well, I'm taking that money then
Sure.
and reinvesting it back into the community.
Exactly.
And you know where it's going.
Yeah. And it's something like 80% of the dollar stays right here, which is so important. And I don't quote me on that, but it's a high percentage, and I love that. You you have a kind of an interesting story. So, what is Woodland Studios? It is photography and web development.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of scratching the surface here.
Yeah, so really the goal of Woodland Studios is to be a digital media company that can come walk alongside other businesses and kind of be a one-stop shop. So with the company, I'm able to do some logo design, branding, so figuring out what kind of colors work with your business, all of this type of thing, and then do photography, also including drone photography, and then web design. So rather than having to pay 3 different contractors to do 3 separate jobs, I'm able to be that one-stop shop where I'm able to work with you, learn who you are as a business, learn kind of the essence of your story, so that way we can work together to tell the best story possible to get my client more customers.
Sure.
But then also I just have a passion to tell stories.
Yes.
And thinking through, let's say you're an apple orchard, because we have a ton of them around here, and somebody's looking for an apple orchard, and so they Google map apple orchard. What's going to make them choose your apple orchard over the 5 other ones that pop up on Google Maps?
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's the story. That's the why of we're going there. And
Sure.
so that's why I love to work with people and learn their why.
I want to see the up-close imagery of the apples, the quality of the apples, but I also want to see a far pullback drone shot of what that orchard looks like.
Mm-hmm. And you can see, what's going to make your orchard different than the other one. Maybe it's, you offer, creamies at your orchard, or
Wagon
you do corn
rides,
maze.
whatever.
Yeah. So being able to kind of learn the heart of the business.
Sure.
And being able to showcase that to say, here's why you need to come to my business.
What about real estate? Here's why I ask you that, because I'm seeing more and more social media with real estate companies, ironically, not here in Vermont, that seem to be incorporating more of those drone shots. That are you working with real estate companies?
I have worked a little bit with real estate companies. I've shot a few houses. In Vermont, it is so stinking beautiful here.
Yeah, right.
When I've had the opportunity to fly the drone up and photograph the houses, 90% of the time they're, on acres, of land, or next to a pond or something. And so to be able to showcase, a great kitchen is great, but also
exactly.
Look at this property.
Yeah.
Look at, imagine, if you have kids, your kids running around there. Or if you have, we were just talking about kayaking, just waking up in the morning, taking the kayak out on a calm lake. Just beautiful imagery.
You need the bird's eye.
Yep.
I would, if I owned a real estate company, I would be ringing your bell. I would, I would want you as part of my team. So how did this all start for you? Like, How did this all, was this like, I'm guessing that in high school you were a lover of photography, capturing the image.
So I bought, kind of one of those rinky-dink cameras in high school and did all of the artsy shots. And then in college was when I got my first digital camera.
Yeah.
And that's when I really started experimenting with, local families and stuff who wanted a nice Christmas card. So really through kind of there, I was just doing families, and then I kind of got into doing some business photography. And I learned that's actually where I really like to work. Also in college was when I got my first drone, which unfortunately got stuck in a tree and we had to shoot it down with a BB gun.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was a snowstorm, and I'm much better now. So
Did you get it down?
With a BB gun, we tried frisbees, baseballs, nothing works. Finally, we just had to get
God.
it.
Well, look, here's the thing. That drone is so outdated now anyways, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I
Right?
have not gotten a drone stuck in a tree in over 10 years. So
I love it.
that's always a plus.
Oh my God. All right, so continue.
Yeah, so my undergraduate was actually in broadcast media, and that's when I did a lot of the live audio-visual production. I did a lot of work with soundboards, with cameras, stuff like that. Really fell in love with that industry. And so I got a job up here in Vermont doing live AV. And the second day on the job, I learned that I was no longer going to be able to continue to do that job.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember sitting at the time I was in Burlington, in this empty Burlington apartment. All I had was an air mattress and one mug. And I just lost my job going, what in the world am I doing here?
Wow.
It was a rough spot.
Wow.
But the HR person at the company where that whole thing went down, steered me towards another position at the organization, which was an assistant webmaster position. And I literally looked at the job description and I was like, I don't meet 80% of the qualifications here.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, just interview. Like, the worst they say is no.
Mm.
And so I literally get to the interview and I'm like, right up front, I'm like, I don't meet 80% of the qualifications. Like, and so I wound up speaking to who eventually became my supervisor and a coworker. And really at the end of the day, they're like, we're interviewing and looking for character over knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
And so I got the job, and I became an assistant webmaster. And that's really where I got the on-the-ground learning. And the cool part with that position, that was at University of Vermont Extension. So I got exposure to doing websites for agriculture, for family, for health, all of these different industries, and really get my boots in the ground in Vermont and learn all of the different aspects of what makes Vermont Vermont, and get to travel around, photograph, work with these websites. And it was such a fun position.
Wow. How long was that going on for?
So I did that job for about 2 years.
Okay.
And then I went and worked for the state of Vermont for a couple of years. And then I did a short stint at UVM Health Network before jumping into Woodland Studios.
Wow. It is you're a risk taker. and I think that's really admirable. A lot of success is driven from that. It is not easy to cut your teeth in this biz, man. It's a funky business.
It is. And I had always toyed with starting my own business. Actually, the name Woodland Studios comes from my dad and uncle's business that they started back in the 80s. And so, I come from a family of small business. We have landscapers, we have photographers, we have woodworkers who all started their own business. And I was never the risk taker. But in the back of my head, I always thought, what would this look like? And so when I noticed things were wrapping up kind of with my last full-time job, I really looked at my husband and I was like, okay, right now we're in a spot. We don't have any kids at this point. Let's just try.
Yeah.
And see what happens. Worst case scenario, I jump back into the full-time pool.
Yeah.
But now it's been a year and a half and I have absolutely loved the work.
I know exactly what you're saying and exactly, at least I think I know how you feel. It is scary and it is so exciting at the same time.
I call it the roller coaster because, especially you start out.
Absolutely.
and you're like, I'm doing a thing and we're doing it. Like, we're doing exactly what I want to do.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you realize you don't get a paycheck every month. And you have to learn what QuickBooks is and accounting and all of this stuff that I've never had to deal with. And, you know, I have to be my own IT person. And so, you know, you have those huge moments where you're like, this is awesome. This is amazing. You know, you get that dream client and you're having a ball. But then all of a sudden you get in the slump and you're like, what am I doing? This is horrible.
Yeah.
And, you know, at the end of the day, though, the peaks outweigh the valleys.
Yes, I'm nodding my head. I'm with you 1,000%. And if you're like me, especially that you're a creative person, your brain probably never shuts off.
No, but that's also one really freeing thing with this. So really a lot of my ideas come when I'm not in front of a computer.
Right.
So for me, you know, when you're working the 8 to 5 and you have to be in front of the computer making sure that Teams notification looks green.
Yeah.
You know, for me that was so draining. Now if I'm stuck, I can go outside.
Yeah.
I can, you know, go for a walk.
Yes. Take a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, most of my ideas come usually when I'm out either in the woods or on the kayak or something and just able to clear my brain a little bit.
Sure.
And then I produce so much better quality of work.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that too. I mean, you can get wrapped up in this and get clouded easily. For me, it's when I'm driving in the car. I don't know what it is.
Just letting your brain wander.
Yeah.
And wander into those areas that, you know, otherwise you wouldn't be able to go to unless it's like, you know, 12 o'clock at night and you can't fall asleep. And then usually then the the ideas that come to my mind usually aren't ones that I want to replicate. So.
Have you ever woken up like this? Oh my God. You ever done that? I do that all the time.
I've never done that, but I've definitely woken up and been like, I have an idea.
Yeah.
And 80% of them are wild that will never happen. Yeah. But some of them are, you know, when I'm thinking of like, okay, how do I creatively reach out to people, or, you know, how do I solve this one problem that I'm working with this client on?
Sure.
A lot of times it will be kind of when my brain is just kind of waking up and it's like, that might work.
Yeah, right. I love the fact that you and I was having some connectivity issues with my previous website, with folks being able to reach me through the website. What's cool about you, what I really like about you, is that you didn't allow my silence, which was built around a technical issue, to deter you from being persistent with me. And it's because of that we're together and we've partnered up, and now we've got this thing going. And you have completely redesigned my website from scratch. It's so exciting to me, and I'm proud of it, even though I really had nothing to do with it.
You did.
But
give yourself more credit.
Well, I mean, I can have the vision, but I don't necessarily know how to make stuff happen, and that's where you do. And I was able to communicate that to you.
So my philosophy is, you have a stomach ache and you go to the doctor and you say, I have a stomach ache. I don't expect, you know, when you're at the doctor, you don't expect to go, okay, I have a stomach ache. Here are the medications I need to put on. Here are the tests I need to do.
Right.
We go to the doctor and expect the doctor to know
sure
what we need to do. And that's the same way I approach design and, you know, a lot of these issues that I work with businesses.
Yeah.
Because you can say, okay, I know I have an issue.
Yeah.
But I don't expect you to come to me and say, okay, here are the issues with my domain. Here are the issues with my, you know, back-end coding, because you're not supposed to know that.
Right.
And so that's really my goal is, you know, I don't work with the people who have the computer science degrees. I work with the small business owners who are doing an awesome thing, but they just need a little extra help to
Yeah.
make sure that they get their name out there, their product out there, their service out there to help best boost their revenue and their impact on the community.
Sure. I was able to tell you, going forward, I know that I don't want this, and I know that I don't want that right off the bat. And I had to kind of verbalize what my vision was for a new web design. And you understood, and that's really important. You have to feel that you're understood. If you feel like someone that you're working with who's doing web development says, "Yeah, I think I know what you mean, but I have a better idea," and they have their own vision of what you're doing, and they try to sell that to you. We don't want that.
So when you say that, the thing that popped in my mind when we were talking through different websites that you liked. So when I work with my clients, I ask them to show me a couple websites that they like so I can kind of see their aesthetic. And you pulled one up and I was like, why do you like this? And you said, because it's dark.
Yeah, right.
And for me, that goes, okay, we're going with the darker colors. We're going with the big, bold colors. You didn't know how to articulate that.
No.
But you just said it was dark. And so I'm able to go, okay, I can translate that of not a lot of white space. We're going to make this thing really pop.
Sure. And I'm showing it right now. It's on the it's on the monitor right now. And you basically said, all right, look, so here's the deal. I'm going to come to your studio, and I'm basically going to take some photographs of when you're on the air and what it is that you're doing, and I'll share those photographs with you, and we'll just kind of go from there. And we'll bring in your logo colors, and we'll bring in your vision of what you want. And I wanted it to be kind of, pretty basic. I didn't want a whole lot of moving stuff. I just wanted it to look clean and look organized. And there it is. And these were important things. And in our conversation was when I realized, like, for example, right now, I want not only, I want the logos of where else you can catch this podcast, the audio platforms, like iHeart and Spotify and TuneIn Radio. And you were like, well, not only can we put the logos there, but we can also put a link to each of them. And of course, that freaked me out. I didn't know you could do something like that.
You don't have to know that.
Exactly. But that was so exciting to me because I get asked that all the time. I mean, there's people out there that do not have Facebook. There's people out there that never get on YouTube. But as long as they know that there's an audio platform that like Spotify is the main one that I keep hearing. Are you on Spotify? That's I love that.
Yeah. And really, looking at your target, for you consumer, what are they coming to your website for?
Sure.
It might be to fill out one of those advertisement sponsor forms, but for the most part, people are coming to figure out where can I listen or watch you.
Yeah.
And so making sure those are the most prominent things, because the last thing you want is for a website to be confusing.
Sure.
And so that's really where I take kind of the keep it simple approach a lot of times, especially because for me, my goal is for you to be able to edit your own website.
Yeah.
And so if I make this thing so completely complicated that you look at it and go, oh my goodness, there's no way I can actually work on this.
Yeah.
I failed.
Right.
My goal is to be able to empower the business owners, the nonprofit people, that they can look at that and go, okay, I feel confident with this. But even after I hand off the reins, like I have for you with this website,
sure,
that I'm still available, that I'm not going to nitpick that if you're like, hey, can you just review this one thing? Or I'm really stuck. Would you mind just jumping on a call real quick?
Yeah.
I want to be available for everybody who I work with.
And you have been. And I've had so many dumb questions, and when it comes to easy, you know that.
They're not.
And it's like, you've come on, let's be honest here. You've had to dumb things down pretty hardcore with me, and you've been able to do that in a way that I can understand, which is, I love the other side of it. I don't necessarily love and embrace the technical side of it. But you're able to do that for me right here. I mean, it says right there, you can watch it on Facebook and YouTube, and everything is here. And it's clean, it's organized, the photography is great. There's so many web, let's just say it like it is, geeks out there that don't, they're all about the coding and all about that stuff, and they don't have the artistic visualization of what the client is trying to incorporate. And you have both.
Yeah.
You have both of that. And that's really cool.
And that's where a lot of the photography comes in. For me, when I first look at a website, or, even if you're scrolling on Facebook or something, you're going to look at the photo way before you read the caption. And so if I can tell the story through the photography, then that gets people hooked to then either read the caption, or, even if we can, like you kind of can see on the front page here, I have the main text right up on the photo.
Sure.
So that way we just know exactly who we are, where we are, what we're doing.
Sure. Your goal, I think, above and beyond everything, and I don't want to speak for you, but it seems like your goal is primarily to do something, to be part of someone else's success, that they are successful in part from something that you've done, whether it's a logo redesign, whether it's imaging, whether it's web design, something. You've had your hand in it. And am I right in saying that?
Yeah. So, I'll talk to people and they'll ask, what's your favorite part of being a small business owner? And for me, it's honestly seeing the change in what happens with my clients. So kind of a small little anecdote. I was working with a wedding coordinator, and her website was outdated. It was hard for people to contact her, didn't showcase her services very well. And so she was able to kind of have a part-time income with this kind of business that she started, but it wasn't thriving. So we worked together and redesigned the website. Also did for her a lot of search engine optimization. So if somebody types in wedding coordinator Vermont, she pops up towards the top. So about 3 months after I do every website, I kind of have a check-in with my clients and just be like, how are things going? Like, anything I can help you with? And she told me that within the 3 months, she was able to quit her full-time job to pursue the wedding coordinating full-time. She was able to pull her kids out of daycare, spend the weekdays with her kids, work hard on the weekends, and she had never been happier. And that was one,
That's
like,
it.
you can see me kind of like right now, like, I just seeing that work transform her life, where she was able to spend more time with her kids and pursue her passion, was something that was just absolutely transformative to me. And for me, I've never been more fulfilled in a working kind of position that way. But then also to see how other people's lives are changed for the better.
Yeah, right. Wow, that I love hearing that story. What do you say to folks out there that have something, and maybe they have something in their head of, I don't need a website, I've got Facebook? Have you heard this before?
Oh my gosh,
okay.
yes.
All right.
So, number one, sometimes, I'm not going to push you and say, this is going to cure all of your problems.
Sure.
If, you're at max capacity now of your limits with Facebook and you're happy with that capacity, you don't need me. All the power to you. But really, kind of the website with the Facebook is first business validity of saying, okay, I am legit, I am established, being able to really showcase your products and services. And so for an example for this one, I work with a lot of nonprofits. And so with nonprofits, they have different events, they have, fundraising. So there's kind of a relationship with the social media and the website. So really with the website, I'll build in, I'll take the photos, showcase what does it look like when you come to this nonprofit? What kind of services are we offering? How do we see the life change? But then and so really that's kind of, when people are inquisitive, like, oh, what is this? They can go to that page and see what it is, what it looks like if you come participate.
Mm-hmm.
But then on Facebook is where you say, okay, here are, this fundraising event that we're having, not saying that that's not a place for the website, but that's where you do more of kind of the live updates, kind of the same thing with you.
Yeah.
You're not advertising every show on your website.
Right.
You're doing that on your Facebook page, but the website is a place to come learn who you are, what you do, how to get in contact, and where to watch and listen.
Yeah. And have all of that in one place
Mm-hmm.
is essential. It's essential. And, Facebook gives you a limited amount of space to craft your brand verbally or with text. You've got so much space to do that. And I don't know. It's
hard to tell a story on Facebook.
Yeah.
Even let's say you take your family on a great camping trip, you post the photos, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that doesn't showcase who your family is. With a website, you can say, I'm going to invent John and Jane Doe and they have 3 kids. I would not do a website for a family. This is a very bad example. But you learn who the family is, and then you post the photos of the camping trip on Facebook.
Yeah. Wow. Speaking of nonprofits, and there are so many, and I know you work with them, but and even a small business, something that stands out is so imperative. It's got to be something that jumps a little bit and gets someone's attention.
Mm-hmm.
And man, we all have such short attention spans, but just something that makes us go, ooh, to reach over and grab the wheel on your mouse and scroll down is huge.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get past someone just seeing the first 1 second of your webpage, and to scroll down and or maybe even click on something. That's
the big win right there. You get a click.
Win. That's it. I know. It's amazing. And you've got to do that. And that's there's you have a lot of responsibility when you're tagged with this. I mean, this is your job.
Well, and that's where I harp back to story and visual imagery with the photography of, kind of that, illustration of, let's say this time you're wanting to go to a bakery and you're around and you Google map bakeries in Vermont and you get 500 different bakeries. What's going to make you click on that one bakery over the other? The images that you see, and maybe, the menu that shows the prices. And so being able to just have everything right there and have it stand out over the other competitors.
Right. Yeah. I'm just there's so many things I'm thinking of here, but
Go for it.
What are you hoping to do now? What are you hoping to do this summer? Where are you with your client base? Do you want to be busier? Are you right now just about right, or are you tapped out?
I would love to be busier. I mean, to be honest, I'm working with quite a, good handful of clients, but, my real goal, a lot of my projects only last 2 to 3 months. I never want a project, unless it's something huge, last 6 months, a year, because at that point you're burnt out. So really keeping that short time frame makes it to where I'm able to kind of keep clients rolling in.
Yeah.
While also paying attention to the ones that I have.
Right. Yeah. How many more are you looking for? right
I mean, it's a hard question because my services are so diverse.
Okay.
So, if we're going for the whole package of we're working with logo, we're working with photography, we're working with web design, that's probably like 2 to 3.
Yeah.
But like I just had somebody reach out to me just asking for some images of some medical facilities.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot shorter of a time frame working with that client. That's, a couple weeks, sign, seal, deliver, here you go. So really it depends on the nature of what we're looking at. My favorite though are those whole package clients where I really get to work with the people,
Yeah.
learn their story, and go from like beginning to end.
Photograph it and get it all captured.
Yep.
What about folks that might be watching, listening right now that are like, I can't afford her. I can't afford this. Web development, bah, bah, bah. Those are big words. I mean,
Yeah.
you know why I said that? Because that's kind of the way that I think.
Mm-hmm.
Web development, I can't, cha-ching. I can't afford that.
So I take it into 2 kind of different approaches with that. First, I'm not going to be your big agency that's going to be quoting you $50,000 for a website.
Yeah.
Just, if I get there in my life,
Yeah.
I'm in a very good spot. But the other one is, let's say you're a photographer. I've worked with quite a few photographers, and you're a wedding photographer, and you charge $3,000 per wedding. So if I work with you to help build your website, and let's say this is a $3,000 project, if you just get one more client from redoing everything, you have made your money back. If you get plus one more client, you've already made a profit.
Mm-hmm.
And so really looking at it that way of, okay, what does this do to help me maximize my profits? Like I mentioned with that wedding coordinator, small investment, gets 1 to 2 weddings, automatically made up that investment.
Yeah.
And now is kind of off to the, races going and kind of living her dream.
Testimony is so powerful. It's probably the most powerful example of marketing and advertising. I have picked up one sponsor through the website that you made for me. I haven't even had a chance to tell you that. I've picked up one, and I feel very confident that I'll pick up another one through the website. But you've also got to take it's also the responsibility of your client to take what you've created for them, and don't just sit back and take it this beautiful artwork and I'm drawing a blank here. This act of love and effort that's gone into it. Don't just take it and put it on the mantle and just sit back and expect it to be an autopilot. You've got to work at promoting it. You've got to take that website, make some business cards, put that website on it. You've got to cross-promote it in your social media. You've got to push it around. Just you making it alone isn't going to drive everything. You've got to self-promote. You have to.
There is a side where every project that I do, I build in that search engine optimization.
Yep.
So that's not a magic fix.
That's Russian to me.
So that's when you Google, Podcast Center Vermont, you're going to shoot to the top.
Okay.
You're not buried under 500 other podcasts.
Okay.
But with that being said, that's never enough. And that's one thing really I've learned in small business is, first building those relationships with people.
Yeah.
So building that trust.
Right.
But then also, clients aren't just going to come magically to my front door and say, hey, I have this huge project. Do you want to help? I have to go out, build that trust, learn the businesses, learn the clientele, and then from there, build that relationship enough that they say, okay, I would like to work with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And you did that with me. And for me, there was such a wow factor when you had kind of mocked up the basic outline of my webpage and you brought it in and you showed it to me, the big wow factor for me. I absolutely love it. It's all right there. It's every direction that I want to go, all in one space. And it's not. It doesn't. I also didn't want to go too deep.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted some basic navigation of how to listen, where to listen, show who supports me as sponsors.
Yep.
But also give someone who sees my website, who's maybe never even been into this studio or been to Vermont even, to take them inside and show them a little bit of what is happening here. But also, we all need stuff to be really easy at the tip of our fingers. We don't want to spend even a minute looking around for something. To have the link right there. If you go on the website, you can literally see our podcast right now as we're talking live.
Well, and you mentioned kind of, it's hard to get people to scroll down. So on that first image, that first thing, what are we telling people?
Yeah.
And then the other one you mentioned was like kind of showing you the mock-up.
Sure.
I will say those are some of the most nerve-wracking, but then awesome experiences.
Right.
Because, I sit there, I listen to you. I work a lot in what's called collaborative design. So really listening to your pain points, what you need to improve.
Sure.
And then, I kind of bring this to life. And I've had people, who are very stoic and they're like, yep, that looks good, to people who are freaking out.
Yeah.
But it's always kind of this, labor of love that I want to do such a good job.
Sure.
And so, to be able to present that and then go, okay, what do we think?
Yeah.
It's so fun.
And there were these tiny little, like, really subtle things that, for me, and I made a list, and I'm like, can you put a little bit more, emphasis on this color? Can you blend that in? Can you match,
Mm-hmm.
Can you match this red to that red? Tiny little things. And I felt like I was full of apologies to you. Like, I'm so sorry. This might seem nitpicky and blah, blah, but you get it, though.
I want people to be nitpicky. At the end of the day, I'm here showcasing who you are, who your business is.
Yeah.
And I need to be that, number one, I want, obviously, my client happy.
Sure.
But if we can get all the nitpicky stuff done within kind of the project period,
right,
then when you get launched off into space,
yeah,
you're not having to worry about that anymore.
Sure.
Then it's, okay, let's say I'm working with a business that is open from 9 to 5, making sure that if you're closed for Memorial Day, you know how to write that on your website.
Yeah, right. You also, in talking with me, it didn't take you very long to say, all right, this guy doesn't really know a lot of what he's. this guy. But you had to, as soon as you said to me, look, this is through Squarespace,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to be given a lesson from me
Mm-hmm.
on how to update your webpage, maintain it, freshen up some pictures, add some different features, add some sponsor names. That was really intimidating for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be honest with you. Maybe even more intimidating than you think it was. But you were able to do that with me.
Yeah.
And slow it down and show me how to get there.
I never work on you have 1 hour of training, and if you don't get it within this 1 hour of training, then
Right.
you owe me X amount of dollars extra.
Yeah.
When I finish a project, I want my client to feel confident in what they're doing.
Sure.
And a way that I help reiterate that is when I get done training with a client,
Sure.
I will go home and do the exact training and record my video screen.
Amazing.
Say,
Amazing.
click this button over here. Really first ask the client, like, okay, what are the main things you want to edit? and then show them on the video how to do
Yes.
it. So that way you have this reference guide.
Right.
So, it kind of works that you can feel more empowered to do your own stuff, but still, I don't mind if you're emailing me saying, I'm confused about this one thing.
Yeah. I said when you told me, don't worry, everything that I'm showing you right now, because I'm a pen and paper guy. I gotta write everything down. And I remember you saying, don't worry, I'm gonna be sending you a video of everything that we're discussing now. And I was like, thank God.
It's an intense thing to be trained.
Sure.
I've been there so many times.
Yeah.
And so to have that pressure taken off of, I have to remember every little step. And if I don't want to have to come back, even though, like I said, you're welcome to come back and ask questions. But to have that kind of guide,
Yeah.
it's comforting almost.
Sure. So you've done, can you give us an example of some of the companies that you've done websites for? I mean, we're looking at mine. We're talking about mine, but can you give other examples?
Yeah. So Capital Steel Supply and Company, they were one that got to do the photography for. That was a huge overhaul.
Yep.
I've done aerial analytics. I've done quite a few churches, so those are always fun. I've done 2 different wedding photographers. I've done, like I said, the wedding coordinator. And so really just working on building this diverse portfolio of different websites.
What's been the most fun?
I got to say that Capital Steel one right there, that was drone, that was working to showcase. So actually, if you go to their product page, that was a really interesting one. And if you scroll down to so if you click sheets and plates right there, and that's all my photography, and scroll down, you can see all the different kind of buttons to get to the different kind of showcasing of their products. But they had this really unique problem where they had so many different products that they needed to advertise. So if you keep scrolling, the top there just kind of keeps going. How you can see that header sticks to the top when you're reading it. So that way, as you're reading those different products, you don't forget, was this a wisp? What was this a height? Yeah.
Oh. Wow. That's really cool. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah. So it was, I was talking to them and I was like, what are your pain points? And she said, it's so hard for me to actually visually see what we have because we have so much. And so we worked together and that was the solution.
They must have been thrilled.
Yeah. It was really fun.
That's so cool.
And then if you go to their services page and everything, that's all of the photography that you can see. I actually got to fly my drone in their warehouse to showcase the overhead crane and all of that.
Really?
Yep.
This is fascinating stuff. I mean, this is all of this is at a level so much deeper than mine. I mean, this is really impressive. Were you overwhelmed?
No, because I think with them, they were so great to work with that, we really talked about, like I said, what are we wanting to communicate here? And it just kind of worked. So yeah, that one, if you scroll down, we have those accordions. So all those questions are there and then you can click it open and it'll answer. So, one of their things was we don't want our web pages to be huge. So we wrapped everything up in those accordions.
This is marvelous stuff. I mean, this is great. Was this a photo?
So that was a stock photo, I will say.
Yeah.
But 95% of the photography on there is mine.
Wow. You must be, I know you're humble, but you must be proud of this work that you've done.
I have been more proud of the work that I've done in the past year and a half with this business than all of my work put together beforehand. Not saying that, the work I have done in healthcare and in education wasn't fulfilling, but just really getting to sit down with people and tangibly solve problems and seeing direct benefit is something that just, it's awesome.
Yeah. What's that client or that type of business? And maybe I've already asked this to you, and if I have, just stop me. That you're like, gotta have it, gotta do it, want it. That's the kind of there's maybe a bucket list.
Agriculture.
Okay.
So I did a ton of agriculture website when I worked at UVM Extension. But I have yet to get to do an agriculture site for Woodland Studios. And so really being able to incorporate the drone, telling the story of, the Vermont family farm, whether it's dairy or maple. I have gotten to do, I worked with Central Vermont Economic Development Corporation, and we did this huge Central Vermont maple spread. And I worked with another photographer, so she did a lot of the imagery, but we got to tell not only the story of local maple producers, but of the people who supply the products to the maple producers, whether it be evaporators or, the reverse osmosis machines, and then also the people who distribute it. So the local mom and pop shops that, you can go buy the maple that we showcased before, in these shops. And so really telling that holistic story. That was a great one to do, but I would love to get more into agriculture.
I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm thinking about parks and rec. I'm thinking about the state of Vermont, state parks, hiking, recreation, tourism. The list.
Yeah, I always
goes
joked
on.
If I could make money photographing trees, I would totally do it.
Yeah,
because I mentioned after this, I'm probably going out either for a hike or on the boat. So a lot of my kind of hobby is landscape photography. So my husband and I are in the adoption process, and one fundraiser we do is I make these calendars with my landscape photography, and we sell those.
Are those available right now?
You can reach out to me and I can make them available. They're not, I don't showcase them on the business website. But we definitely work through that.
All right. Your website is woodlandstudiosvt.com.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's on there right now. To email you, mary@woodlandstudiosvt.com.
Yep.
Are those the best ways to get you?
Yeah. And so there's actually a cool part. I'm not sure if you're able to pull up my website.
Yep.
Working on that. But there's actually a way that I've built into the website.
Yep.
Where you're able to directly book a meeting with me.
Show me how.
Yep. So there's my website. And so if you go over to the contact button, which is on the right.
Yep.
And then scroll down. So you see that left part there. It currently has that kind of, you understand that you're working. So you can either fill out that form there, or if you click accept, and then you can actually book a meeting directly with me through that form right there.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah.
It's literally
I keep my availability up to date. So, unless something pops up where, something immediately happens, I should be available for those bookings.
This is so wonderful. I love this. Listen, I know, that there are plenty of people out there that say, "Oh yeah, I can make a website for you," and you're smiling because you know exactly the type I'm talking. There's plenty.
And then you want to pull your hair out a little bit.
Yes. I'll do it for you for $200, $100, whatever. You're not that that person. You are nuts to bolts, top to bottom. You do it all. And I love that. And you're so professional. And it didn't take me long to figure that out when I met you. Summertime is a busy time. Mm-hmm. We got a lot going on that we're trying to squeeze in. We encourage our listeners, our viewers, to get in touch with you sooner than later.
Summer is usually my busiest, just especially with the drone photography and whatnot, which makes total sense. But still booking.
Is the state of Vermont, are they familiar with Mary Peterson and Woodland Studios?
So I worked for the state of Vermont for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I flew drones for Agency of Education and did actually videography, photography inside the State House and everything. So they are familiar.
Okay.
So if you look at work for there from 2021 to 23.
Okay.
And got to tell a lot of the really cool stories of what's going on in Vermont schools.
I love that. They should be giving you a few rings and having you do some more stuff. And now that I know about your drone stuff, of course I've got ideas and things that really have nothing to do with Aired Out, but we have to talk more. I always enjoy talking with you. Anything that you've got going on is polished and refined and classy, and it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. I've seen what you do with the Central Vermont Chamber of Commerce. I've seen what you did at Night to Shine. You really are. You've got this. You're dialed in, and you're doing a hell of a job. You really are.
You. And Night to Shine is a highlight of my year.
Wasn't that fantastic?
So for some context, I kind of head the photography team for Night to Shine, and every year I see JD and his buddy, and I run the photo booth, and my husband's there with the photo printer, and I had another sweet friend this year doing the photo printer, and they came back like 5 different times because you have silly props, and so you can get your very serious photo that we print out for you and put it in the frame, and it's an automatic souvenir, but then you also have fun hat photos and silly glasses, and it's just such a great night.
Yeah, it really is. My buddy, he loves his picture. It's on his nightstand. Looks at it every night.
I had somebody in the community come up to me, and he looks at me and he goes, "I know you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay." And he goes, "You took my picture." And I'm like, "Where did I take your picture?" He's like, "Night to Shine." And then he runs up to me and gives me the biggest hug and says, "I love my picture."
See that?
And that, I mean, just gone. It was the sweetest moment.
That's what it's about right there. You're changing lives. You're improving businesses, yes, but more so you're changing lives, and you're helping people bring their visual aspirations to life. And you're doing such a great job of that, Mary. And I'll tell you right off here, I am so honored and humbled to be partnered up with you in any capacity, anything that we do. But to have you make my webpage from scratch is it's a blessing, and I'm so glad I've met you, and I look forward to doing more stuff with you. Anytime you want to come in here, anytime you got anything to promote, you got a microphone waiting for you.
Oh, gracious. And, careful what you say.
I know. I understand. But web design, AV production, we're just scratching the surface for what you really do, which is make people really proud of whatever it is that they are doing, whether it's a business or a private venture, whatever it is. You're doing that. You're bringing it to life digitally for so many people. And thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for sponsoring. And I have some ideas. I got some stuff I want to already. Wheels are turning. Stuff I need to talk with you about off the air. But we're going to do some great stuff together, and I look forward to it. I'm so excited.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks, Barry.